Welcome to BAM, Badass Moms with Lori and Jenny. We are moms on a mission to share women's stories about life, fitness, aging, relationships, travel, and much more. Hello, friends, and thank you for joining us for another episode of the BAM. Today, you are in for such a treat on this episode. We have got a remarkable mom who exudes happiness and embodies a life by design. Brace yourself for her incredible journey of breaking free from the corporate grind, followed by her invaluable wisdom and refreshing take on motherhood, life, and crafting the extraordinary life you've been dreaming of. Before we hand over the mic to Nicoa, Jenny, why don't you tell us a little bit of the background story of how you and Nicoa know each other?
So Nicoa and I have been friends for, I think it's like 20 years. We met in my neighborhood. We were neighbors. And Nicoa, you were here for what? It was only like 3 years?
Yeah, clearly I had to leave I was working at GE at the time, and then I quit and went to Thermoelectron when they were buying Fisher. And I also got pregnant at the same time, and we spent so I like brand new career move and had my third child while I was your neighbor. Yeah, it was such a great neighborhood too. I miss it.
Well, and it was being built at the time. And so there was just like a closeness with all the neighbors. There were a handful of us, and we pretty much did everything together. So we did life together. And then when Nicoa and her husband and her family moved away, we just kind of stayed in touch, and I followed her career over the years.
Oh, I thought you were going to say y'all just cried and you were so sad.
We did. I don't know if you remember, Nicoa, you handed over, like you gave us each certificates when you left and gave us each roles to carry on certain traditions.
Oh, I'm so creative and I forgot.
It was so cute. So Sean, my husband, Sean got he was supposed to carry on Oktoberfest, which he did for
You gave him assignments.
Years.
Is that what happened?
That's right.
Yeah. And I think mine was supposed to be like spread joy or something. Like it was so cute. I loved it. So anyway, so we go way back, and I'm going to let Nicoa tell a little bit about her journey, but I have kind of like stalked her career over the years. So tell us a little bit about your journey since you left the hood.
Yeah, since I left the hood. Well, first of all, that is such a cool thing I did that I've forgotten.
Don't we all do that?
I'm basking in my coolness there for a second.
So already a badass.
I'm already badass, and I didn't even realize. And I'm very humble. That's probably the biggest. Okay, sorry. So, guys, you and I actually, Jenny, we're kindred spirits in the field of human resources over the years, too. So that's one of the reasons you were stalking my career.
Yes. Yes.
I would kind of call myself a recovered, I used to say recovering, but now I'm a recovered corporate executive. I was married, had 3 kids. I was married for 25 years. I was in the corporate world for 20, and then one day in 2009, at about 4:15 in the afternoon, in a meeting with my CEO, I quit my job.
Just out of the blue.
Plan. Now, that was badass in retrospect. I didn't even, I had zero plan. I had a stay-at-home husband, 3 kids, 12 years of age and under, and like a crazy woman, I literally walked out of that office and I was like, that was the best decision I've ever made in my life.
So I have a question. Was it just a buildup? Was it in that instance? Like what made you just make that immediate choice?
That's a great question. And I wish I knew then what I know now, right? But in that moment, I remember it had been a buildup, and I had been very frustrated in my life and very annoyed. I began to realize I was getting very annoyed with people and my CEO and my circumstance, and they couldn't see me and they didn't understand me. And I was in that meeting and he was saying one thing, I was asking for another. And at one point I said, I don't think this is ever going to change. I just looked at him. I said, I think I'm going to trigger my contract. Now I say this with the 100% understanding that I was a privileged executive that had a 1-year contract severance agreement that I could trigger at any time. So when now 7 weeks later, Lori, massive terror, panic attacks, like my husband at the time. So I got divorced, and I don't know if it was related to that decision, but let's see how many years later we got divorced in 2016, 2017, and And since then, I have remarried, and I have 3 new beautiful children in addition to my 3. So just to give the bow on the summary of who I am. And I've been an executive coach ever since that quit, as I call it. Executive coach, consultant, created some same circuses, different tent experiences up front.
So that moment defined, I mean, there's a lot of defining moments in our life, but that was a defining moment for you. Like you said, you then took the next steps in your chapter.
You know, there'd probably been defining moments for about the 6 years prior, and I wasn't listening to them. Yeah. So, you know, talking about being a badass mom, most of the time we're not even paying attention to our motherhood, and we're paying more attention to our career or, you know, what it is we need to do to stay safe. And I ignored that in those intuitive messages. I had what I call a near-miss heart attack, which turned out to be a panic attack. I had malignant melanoma, and fortunately was able to carve that out of my leg and not have treatments or anything, which caused me to say to myself, oh, well, you didn't really have cancer, so just keep going.
Sure. Right. Right. Yeah.
So I wasn't listening. And then finally, I just got pissed off enough to make a change. So
yeah, you know what? Anger can be, we've talked about this, but anger can be a really powerful tool to move you forward. And I think, honestly, I finally got pissed off enough too that I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. And you know.
Yeah, I think there's a combination of unhappiness and then the anger, right? And the frustration. And that's your tipping point.
If you're lucky. And it doesn't even have to be. What I know now is the anger was a message. I like to look at emotions now in my new self-awareness and my coach work I've done all these years. I mean, geez, if I'd known then, like I said, but I look at emotions as energy in motion. Yeah. And it's what moves us. And I didn't sit with that anger. I just used the anger and rationalized that was my justifiable decision making and, you know, screw this. And if I'd sat with it long enough, hey, maybe I wouldn't have a mortgage payment today. I could have leveraged the cash a little longer, stayed, and, you know, played the game. But I didn't want to play the game anymore. And I don't regret that decision at all. Someone told me once, if you'd stayed, you might have died. And I believe that. And
Jenny, that's funny that you, not funny, you almost died. That's let me clarify that. But
I'm not dead yet.
Jenny recently talked about that too when she left corporate America, about how she just internally started to just not feel well, just almost like she knew she was getting sick inside, and it was really just that additional trigger of making the next step.
Yeah. Well, and so on that note, the kind of coaching you do is all about like how you feel in your body and emotion, right? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so now I have, and you can learn more about me at Nicoa.coach, which is my main referral website. And I also have a website people can check out that has access to my podcast and to my e-courses at Coffee with Nicoa, and it's Nicoa.com. So, you know, at the end of the day, I have taken ontological coaching, which is a way of being from my training with the Newfield Network out of Colorado. I don't know if you knew that.
Yep.
Yeah, I came to visit you once.
I came to visit you. Yeah,
that's right. You came to see me when I was out there. That's right. And also trained in energy leadership, which is a consciousness model and a self-awareness model that says you're always perceiving your world from an attitudinal perspective, from one of 7 different levels of energy. And Jenny, you've taken that assessment a few times.
Yeah.
And I'm also trained in positive psychology, which I'm a certified happiness trainer.
I saw that, and I was going to talk about. I mean, if you're how many people can say that they are a certified happiness trainer? I mean, right there.
I know, right? I know. And it's just a toolkit. And ultimately, I look at, and the somatic work that you referenced, Jenny, I look at body, emotion, and language, this Bell model, when I enter conversations with my clients. And if you can, and everybody take your hand, put it over your head, and kind of look up at your hand, that's your higher self. That's the observer of you. When I can help my clients observe themselves, then they can begin to question, why am I upset at my CEO?
Right.
You know, why did I just jerk a knot in my kid for doing that on the playground?
Right.
What is going on? Why am I all of a sudden anxious and I need to leave this party? So if you can become curious, and you and I have talked a lot, Jenny, I've turned you into a crazy lady talking to yourself. That's my goal. That's it, to help people turn into crazy people.
Oh. Some people need help with that. Others, they've got to figure it out on their own.
Yeah. Yes. My voice isn't as nice as yours. I'm like, what the hell are you doing?
I know. That's the gremlin on the shoulder yelling at you. I try to teach people about their tipsy BFF. That's the higher version of you. My BFF is my biggest champion. She's like, oh, are you going to yell at your kids today? I thought we weren't going to yell anymore. Oh, okay, let me get some more wine. Let me watch that. Oh, fun. Look at you. Entertaining.
Oh my gosh. Well, so let's ask the big question that we always ask. And Nicoa, what does it mean to be a badass mom to you?
Y'all send me these questions, and I'm a podcast host. I always send the questions. I never think about how it really feels. I was like, oh God, what does it mean to be a badass mom? I got nervous. My gut reaction to that question was mother first, friend second.
Yeah.
But then I added something. Nicoa first, then mother, then friend. And don't worry about the friend part.
Yeah.
If you do that, if you take care of you, strategically take care of you first. Self-care is not selfish. Self-care is strategic. And I'm not just talking about taking a nap. Yeah. I'm talking about boundaries. And if that's a badass mom. A badass mom knows who she is, why she does what she does, and enjoys it.
Yeah.
Totally.
And then she says, I'm going to have kids. Or maybe she already ended up with them and she's like, okay, well, I have them.
I'm going to have more. I'm going to be a stepmom, right?
Maybe I'll have more, or maybe I won't have more, right? So if I know who I am, and then I know what I want to do as a mother, I need to know, what does that mean to be a mother? And if I don't know, I need to look at all the other mamas and say, what does it mean? Help me. Yeah. And then ultimately, by the way, they come full circle. I have 6 kids between the age of 26 and 18. We forgot to say that out loud to everybody.
Oh, yeah.
But where are my kids on this journey? So I'm just a few steps ahead of a lot of mamas out there. So please trust. If you mama first, you'll be friends in the long run.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, and we actually, we were talking about that the other day because Nicoa and Lori, both of you know that I'm in the midst of, that separation where they want to be like independent and they want nothing to do with you and all that kind of stuff. And so it's like, do they ever come back around, or is this just the way it's going to be from now on?
So Jenny, if you have a washer and dryer and food at your house, they will come back around.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be honest, right?
I know, I'm not kidding. We're empty nesters now. And somebody said to me, I was like, I'm thinking maybe we get like 10 years. She's like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
I was like, we could travel, that we don't have to worry. It's the first weekend that we had no kids around anywhere to be found.
Yeah.
Nobody living in the house, the very first weekend. Pippa, my middle daughter, she texts and says, hey, guess what? I'm coming home for the weekend. Yay. Okay. We love you.
Yeah.
Sorry, mom and dad have their schedule blocked out. You are not allowed home.
I know. Well, we had a whole conversation. My oldest, Alyssa, she came home and she was rooting through the pantry and the refrigerator. And she's like, there's no good food here. She's 21. And I was like, you've got money. You've got a car. I'm like, guess what? You don't live here. We're not shopping for you anymore. Like, this is our stuff.
That's right. Oh, that reminds me of many conversations in our kitchen.
Make it better. I'm not the only one. And back to your point about like having kind of a tribe of moms. I mean, that is one thing that this neighborhood has been amazing for, is there's this community of moms that you can be like, what's going on here? Is this normal? How do I handle this? And but you have to find that for yourself, because it's a lonely journey if you're all alone, if you don't find those people.
Yeah. And I don't regret. I really have no regrets, but I did not, because I chose to follow my career and I moved every 2 to 3 years. I mean, our son lived in 7 houses, 7 different locations across the country by the time he was 11.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so that's a lot.
And that was all for your career? For
my career, and my husband stayed home to support that, which was beautiful. we thought we were so cool and hipster before hipster was cool.
Yeah.
And when I think back on it, if I could jump to something you said in your questions, it makes me think about it. Oh, what is it? What you said? I'm sorry. I really want to read that. The advice you'd give back to your younger parent or your younger self is that your children need you more than you think they do.
Yeah.
And I didn't, as a working mom. Now, a lot of moms, sometimes your children, I would also give the opposite advice. Your children don't need you as much as you might think they do.
Yeah.
If you are fully obsessed with your kids.
Yeah.
But for those of us working full time and traveling the world, I mean, I've been to 30 plus countries and was not home a lot.
Yeah.
And I thought, I'm just teaching them how to work with grace and, blah, blah, blah. They needed me. Mm-hmm. And
Nicoa, I do have a question on that. At what point did you start to really feel that, call it guilt, right? Where you weren't able to be there and you weren't able to, I feel very lucky in the sense that, I am the mom that can take my child to school and pick him up and be there. And there's a lot of moms that can't. And I just wonder at what point did you really start to feel that burn where you were like, wow, time is flying and missing it?
I will be honest with you. I've never felt guilty.
Yeah.
And I want to write a book that's called I Feel Guilty for Not Feeling Guilty.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
I felt less than.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you how that would show up. So I felt like I was missing out. I had FOMO. Mm-hmm. And I would be at like the neighborhood, not our neighborhood, but when the kids were a little older, like when we were in Raleigh, North Carolina, and I'd be at the neighborhood gathering of other parents, and these moms would be like, well, the such and such project this week, so-and-so's doing this. And so what's Pippa doing or what's Campbell doing? And I would have to look to my husband and I'd be like,
yeah.
And I would be like, hey, Mert, what was Pippa doing again? And I felt like crap, but I didn't have the mental capacity to carry. And this is where I think a lot of working moms or working parents sometimes struggle, because especially moms though, because they try to carry all the stuff their kid is doing and their work.
Yeah.
And you just can't do that. Yeah. And so I never felt guilty for not knowing, but I did feel like, damn, I'm missing out. I felt a little embarrassed because the mom, even though you're working full time, you're not given a pass. And you're supposed to know. And those moms, I felt those eyes on me. And here's another example, Lori. Taking my kid to school one morning, because every once in a while I would walk them to school too.
Yeah.
And I would be so excited about it too. I'd be like, I'm walking my kid to school, and we go in, and I realized real quick, like, I don't know where her classroom is. And I was like, and I went, what? Now, are you on the second floor? And she's like, Mom, this way, And so she would take me, and I thought, we're not moving again. So I'd moved so much that this was after like the final move. And I was like, I guess I better start getting to know these teachers and paying attention. And if anybody out there is similar to my path, I think they probably get it. I don't know. I was so embarrassed.
There's a movie. It's an old movie. Sarah Jessica Parker. She's a working mom. And I don't know if you've seen it, but it's like the whole guilt over, like, it's a bake sale and she buys a pie and she tries to make it look like she made it. And I mean, it's just so funny and it's so relatable as a working mom, just trying to do all the things. And I mean, I remember I used to get mad when other moms would take, when you sign up for the class party, if somebody else, like, especially if I knew that they were not working outside the home, if they signed up for plates and napkins, I was like, no. That is a working outside the home mom's job. That's my job.
Your job is to plan the parties and be in the classroom for the women
all
that
I can do is napkins and plates. So find yourself something else.
But I did learn. So that makes me think of a birthday party once I hosted. I loved birthday parties. Like, I was all about themes and buying the stuff and decorating and giving shit away. And so I'm sitting in the kitchen once, real proud about this kitty cat cupcake party we had, and everybody got a plain cupcake and all these icing containers and decorations and candies and stuff, and they were going to make kitty cat faces on the cupcakes. And this mom leans in and she goes, man, that's amazing. You made those cups. Did you mix up that? I said, oh, no, no. I said, thank you, Harris Teeter. I bought all that. It was already done.
Yeah.
But I never lied. I was also really adamant and self-righteous about being the working mom.
And being honest, right?
Outsource solution.
Yep.
Yeah. Being strategic.
Absolutely.
You were just being strategic. You were simplifying your life as best as you could.
That's right. What is the best parenting advice you've ever gotten?
Now, do not laugh at me, but I swear, because I usually really tap into my intuition when I answer questions like this. And the first memory of advice I got was from reading Madonna's biography. I know. People like, you're taking parenting advice from Madonna?
Does she have children?
She does.
Okay.
Hey, I see all the mamas and all the mamas. I see you. I don't care what kind of lifestyle you have. I see you, mama. And she said, and maybe it was an interview, I don't know, but she said the word surrender and privilege about being a parent, about being a mother. And I have never forgotten that. Yeah. And when I was pregnant with my first child, I remember the first time I threw up from being pregnant. And I came running back to my office to my coworker, and I was like, oh, my God, I just got sick. She's like, what is he talking about? And I was like, oh, it's like real now. I'm pregnant, and I got sick. And, I mean, I look at life like it is a freaking privilege. And because I know there are mamas crying in their bed, wishing they were pregnant and just suffering over that inability to give birth to a human being. And so the privilege, that's the very first big piece that reminded me. Yeah. And then the surrender, because then once you have that kid, oh, good Lord, be careful what you wish for. Yeah. Because there you are. Yeah. And as a working mama, when you're nursing every freaking 10 minutes, it feels like in the middle of the night, and you have a 7 a.m. call with India, then you have to surrender to the moment. Because you can't be thinking, oh, hurry it up, kid. I got to get some sleep because I got to be ready for that conference call. You're like, no, I am here. I'm nursing this baby. It is a privilege. I surrender. And then you just do the same thing. I am in this meeting. It is a privilege. I surrender.
The privilege part becomes less and less exciting. You're like, it is a privilege. That's absolutely a great advice. With your busy, I mean, although you are loving what you do now in your life, you sound very busy. How do you take a step away from being the coach for everyone and giving yourself and giving your advice? Because as a personal trainer for much of my life, you give and you give and you give, which is fantastic. But sometimes you have to once again remind yourself to take a step away from giving and like you said, go back to, focusing on Nicoa. What are some things you do to kind of, where's your happy place? Where's your Zen?
Mm-hmm. And that's a really great question that started, 15 years ago. In learning that, and I'm not saying I'm enlightened yet in this lifetime. I doubt we will be, but I will say, I talked about it yesterday on my Instagram story about integrating flow into your life. Yeah, and I already had to learn this skill in the corporate world because I was a human resources professional, and as an HR professional, you have to learn how to kind of be what I call it's a concept I refer to as engaged detachment. Yeah. So it doesn't deplete you because especially for those of us in the energy leadership world who have a lot of caregiver energy, right? Yeah. We want to help, heal, fix the world. And a lot of HR people feel that way. Coaches feel that way. Counselors. In your business too. Yeah. You want to solve the problem for the individual, right? You see, there's my favorite thing, Jenny. I'm going to say it. The Flora Cash song. Oh, yeah, right? Yeah. Right? So there's this line that says, I see the part of you that only when you're older you will see too. And I see that with everybody. I see what's possible in you. And it's been a real skill to not try to make that happen for you, right? Yeah. I have to let you do it. And so for me, this engaged attachment gives me the ability to stay whole. Now, a lot of people are like, I still don't know what you mean. So the way you have to go back to the root cause of all that is to decide that you're worthy of time for you and take that caregiver energy and flip it back onto yourself.
Yeah.
Again, that's the first step. You have to recognize that you're worthy of dedicated attention and love and rest. And that's critical to being able to do what it is you love to do in your work or your life with your children. And people are like, yes, but it's more important to me that my child be happy. And I'm like, well, it's more important to your child that you're happy.
Yeah.
If you want your child to be happy, then you need to know that's what's more important to them.
Yeah.
The kids see it and they feel it when their parents are, stressed out or not present. They know.
They know.
You said when you were describing, like, I see the potential in you, that is such a great way to, that's parenting right there, right? Like, and that's what the frustration is in being a parent, because you see what your kids are capable of and what their potential is and where they're selling themselves short. And you don't have any control over that.
They really don't. But you can influence them.
Yeah.
And if I could do it over, I would have asked more questions.
Yeah. Well, that's the coach in you now. Yeah.
Right.
I guess the tricky part is that, and I go back to, my 15-year-old stepson, you'd ask more questions, but what do you do when they don't answer? And they give you the grumbly, like, you dig for those questions that, kind of need a bigger answer than a yes or no or good or bad. And they kind of just shrug you off, like, how's your day?
Well,
or what was exciting about your day?
Well, you know what? At that stage, so 8th, 9th, 10th grade kind of sucks for everybody, just so you know. And maybe that continues into senior year, but
they come around, right?
They do, hopefully. But what you have to do two things, in my opinion, my personal many 54 years of wisdom here, 4.5. Okay, give myself a little more. So is you have to embody what you want them to experience in their world. So you have to be it. Don't project onto them what you didn't figure out.
Yeah.
Just start projecting onto yourself what you wish you had known when you were 15. Like, start embodying that. Like, and strategically telling those stories about your own experience or people that you've met in front of them. Mm-hmm. So it may feel like they're not listening, but they hear you.
Yeah.
So don't forget. And even when you say, I'm just going to share with you my advice here, I'm going to tell you what I think, here are the consequences of that type of behavior. And they may go,
and the eyes roll and,
Yeah.
Right. But they heard you.
Yeah.
They heard you. And they do come full circle. And don't forget, what you did in the first 7 years of their life is the foundation of their values. That is really...
So I have one more year with my 6-year-old to make sure I get it all in, right? Okay. Thank you. I still have time.
It's funny. You both know my friend Mary, and she and I were talking last night actually about, like, you want them to hear you in the back of their head, like, like, oh, maybe I shouldn't make that choice, or maybe this is what I need to think about. Like, they pretend they're not listening to you. Maybe they think they're not listening to you, but they probably hear you in the back of their head before they make some of their choices. And I think about that. Like, I still to this day, I'm like, my dad would say this,
right.
And I'm almost 50. So it sticks with you.
Or if not, what he would have said, what he would have done.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well, back to your point about, like, modeling, what he would have said, what he would have done. Yeah. So
Nicoa, I'm going to ask you obviously you're excited about what you're doing with your day-to-day now, but is there something coming up that you're really excited about? Something that, I feel like personally every time I have a trip on the schedule or, some big event happening, like, what makes you wake up today and be like, I am so stoked for whatever's next?
I was telling my husband, John, this morning, I said, I think the difference, what is it about me that keeps me going, that keeps me motivated? And what I really like about me is that I anticipate optimistically. Like, I get really excited about life just in general. Like, I'm super, like,
that's your baseline.
Yeah. And the biggest thing that I'm excited about right now from a parenting perspective is the continued unknowing of what I thought was supposed to be happening through the eyes of my adult children.
Yeah.
Because if I can allow them, oh my God, I just had chills telling y'all that, because if I can allow them to now react to their childhood upbringing.
Yeah.
Because I watched it with my own parents and my siblings and me. If I can allow them to say, yeah, that really sucked when you blah, 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 or I can't believe you ignored me so much being on your phone all the time, and you really caused me to have attachment issues because you traveled.
Yeah.
I'll be like, bring it on.
Yeah.
I'm like, you're so right. How are you going to do that differently with your kids? And how can I help you? Because we stopped striving. It does feel like that fear, uncertainty, and doubt that we have as parents when they are all off in college and getting jobs when they are. And I know there's a lot of y'all out there these kids are coming boomeranging back, and I get it. Yeah. But right now, for me, in my experience, I'm like, I don't have to panic anymore. I could go live in a box and I'd be fine because these kids are self-sustaining.
Yeah, totally.
But I want to unknow. I don't want to be the mom that's holding on tight in the end about, well, at our house, this is the way we act. And I can't believe you're raising your kid that way. I am not going to be that mom. And that keeps me going. Yeah. That's exciting to me.
Yeah. I love it. I mean, it's all come like full circle, right?
If you can anticipate even in your day-to-day. I know, Laura, you're trying to get me to the more tangible day-to-day examples. So I do have a trip planned. I'm leaving. I'm for a 2-week trip, right? Alert the media. I haven't done that since 2017. But I'm going to take a week with a bunch of girlfriends, a few I've never met, over a yoga trip on a sailboat in Spain in the Balearic Sea. And then my husband's going to join us for the second week with just 2 or 3 couples, and we're going to vacation. And y'all, these things aren't that expensive. They're not that, I mean, if you want to do something, put forth the plan to do it. It might take you 3 years to save up, but just do it.
Put it on the calendar. Yep. I'm a big fan of that. Make it happen.
So I always have something on the calendar. Yeah, that is true. I always make sure that I have something that's tangible to look forward to. And by the way, I do that every day as well. Oh, I can't wait for my walk today, or I'm looking forward to that nap at 3:30. You know, whatever I've created. And you can see my office. I surround myself with things that make me happy. Yeah. I love color. I make sure I have my favorite pen. You know, so I integrate a life. I call it a life by design. Yeah, I'm very intentional, and I learned to do that before I quit the corporate world. As I became this executive, I was like, oh, well, maybe I could have a little radio in my office. It's like. Maybe I'll get that picture I've been carrying around. Maybe I'll put a frame on it. Like, what can I do to make my life more aesthetically pleasing for me? Because this is a material world, and it's okay to have nice things and to do, leverage the material around you to make you happy. Don't wear the same ugly outfit that you hate just because you spent a lot of money on it. Go buy something fun at Target. I don't care.
Yeah.
I get dressed every morning. I don't do work in my pajamas. To me, it makes me happy. I love my clothes. So those are some tangible examples that are in my life by design. So hopefully that'll spark some ideas for your listeners.
Totally. And one thing I wanted to touch base on is you have a 6-word story. Could you tell everyone a little bit more about like what a 6-word story is? I thought that was brilliant. So
yeah, you can actually Google 6-word story. It's a publishing company, and forgive me for not recalling the name of it. But some of the 6-word story is based on a Mark Twain story that goes like this. Baby shoes for sale, never worn. Now just notice how you currently, each of you listening, how you filtered that story. Baby shoes for sale, never worn. Baby shoes for sale, never worn. Right?
Yeah.
Or baby shoes for sale, never worn.
Yeah.
So they take this concept and they apply it in corporations. What is your 6-word story about your life? So you get to create a 6-word story that has impact. And I chose a 6-word story 15 years ago. And my 6-word story is life by design. I love mine.
Yeah.
And every year I revisit it. And then guess what? I just like, that's always going to be my 6-word story.
No need to
I
change.
can't help it. And so the power of that is it's impactful, right? It's very impactful for me. And it reminds me to focus on what matters most to me, what my values are. Am I heading towards my true north? I even have a tattoo of a true north,
Love it.
And so if you haven't done that work, and for those of you in corporations or organizations that have ever set forth values, behaviors that they're going to measure performance on, et cetera, if you're not also doing that at home, with your family and with yourself, what does matter most to you?
Yeah.
So that helps me stick to my true north, my 6-word story.
Oh, that's great. Jenny, do you have one?
No, but I'm like, okay, I got to get one. I'm going to do some Googling when we get off the call.
Yeah.
I know. Now we have homework.
Luckily, well, the other thing I will share is Nicoa is also my coach. So I'm guessing that my coach can help me with that.
Yes. Well, first homework assignment. Could you please go ahead and draft the source? Thank you. We'll be talking about that in your next session.
Exactly.
Wow. Nicoa, you have so much amazing. I mean, your energy is just off the charts. I love it. And
thank you.
Everything, every bit of advice, every bit of your experience, I think has, just empowered me to like go out and just like be a better me. And obviously, Jenny, you've known Nicoa for so many years now, and just her impact on your life and, her advice and where it's led you now. It seems like it's really just, made you better at who you are and what you're doing and, the person you're currently becoming. Is there anything else, Nicoa, that we didn't throw out there that you want to put out there to all those moms that, just any more tidbits or advice or words of wisdom?
Yeah, it's okay. Everything's okay. It's okay. It's okay. Yeah, no, I understand, but it's okay. Just everybody take a breath. You cannot get this thing called life wrong. You cannot get parenting wrong. I have to share that I have this spiritual belief that we are souls that choose each other and that we kind of come and go in different lifetimes. And if you can recognize that your children chose you and that you chose them, that then you'll remember that there was value in this journey with them. There's value in all.
Yeah.
And when we look at the world like there's value in all, that I remember once talking to my own coach, and I highly recommend don't hire a coach that doesn't have a coach. But so I remember talking to my one coach, and I said to her, "Oh my God, I really yelled at Justice, my son. I really yelled at him the other day, and I know better. I've been coaching for 10 years. I was like, oh my God." And she said, "Well, maybe he needed that in that moment."
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know about that. But in retrospect, sometimes we show up, our autonomic nervous system is going to cause us to react, and we're going to do things that we don't have control over. And it's not that you go there. It's how long do you stay there? Yeah. And can you recover? Can you recover quickly? It's about the recovery. It's not that you were this badass mom in the inappropriate way in that moment. It's that you're a badass mom because you can recognize that that's not how you want to show up in the world, and that you want to transparently do the work. And if you are honest with your children and you share with them, wow, mommy must need to get something to eat or take a nap. I'm so sorry. That's not how I wanted to show up with you. I don't care if they're 6 years old. Tell them the truth about how you're feeling. And they will be your partner in this journey. And believe me.
I think they can relate, right? I mean, I think then they realize that moms, although they know we have feelings, they see it. And then they can start to really relate to, like, when they feel sad or frustrated, they have that, oh, mom's feeling sad and frustrated.
Yeah.
And it makes them feel, I think, more relatable to you, right? Although there's a big age difference, they're like, wow, mom has those feelings too.
And mom makes mistakes and owns it, and
And I think many of us that are in, I don't know how old you are, Laura. You seem a lot younger than Jenny and me. I don't know.
I'm 42, knocking at the door of 43, so I'm right there.
I remember though figuring out that my parents were human, and I was in college. And I don't think I really realized how human they were, until I was like, oh, wait, they don't really, God. So if we can help our kids recognize that humanity in us and that we're all in it together early on, I think we're all going to be just fine. And even if you never recognize that, people listening, you're going to be just fine anyway. It's okay.
I love that. Well, I want to give a huge shout out. Coffee with Nicoa. So Nicoa started a podcast. When did you start it?
End of February, 1st of March, of this year, 2023.
And it's like doing amazingly well. I love it. I share it all the time. You've got a guest spot once a week, and then two espresso shots.
So, yes, my former guest, I do. So, Jenny, guess what? Your episode is in the top 5 top downloads.
I love it. Oh, my gosh. And I haven't even listened to it, but I will.
You got to go listen to it. Yeah, everybody go check it out.
We were having fun.
We did have fun, and we, obviously I could talk all day. This is why I had to have a podcast. So justified talking. So Coffee with Nicoa podcast is on all of the streaming platforms for podcasts. And I'm always looking for so the purpose of the podcast is to interview individuals who have a life by design, the kind of life you don't need a vacation from. Yeah. Now, it doesn't mean you don't take vacations.
Doesn't mean you don't like vacations.
Yes, exactly.
But you don't need one.
You don't need one because you've integrated, you've created a life that you love. Yeah. And, Jenny, you're doing that every moment now that you have transitioned out. You're really owning that for really kind of a big piece of your life for the first time in your life. Yeah. And I loved what you shared about that. You said, I can work where I want, when I want, with who I want. And I just think that's a great philosophy. It's almost a 6-word story. If you could just narrow that down.
Can it be 7? Is there a reason it has to be 6?
It's just that publishing company's
right.
I don't know. It does not have to just be 6. No, not at all.
That's awesome. Well, it was an absolute pleasure having you on the show today.
Well, you know what? Like you said earlier, it takes a tribe and we're all in it together. It's a real honor and a privilege to be asked to share my thoughts and opinions, and people love to share what they think, so I appreciate you giving me the platform to do so, and I wish you guys the very best of luck with your podcast, and I will be sharing it, and
thank you.
I'm real excited. I'm going to send you some more badass moms.
Oh, please do.
Yes,
that would be amazing. I was thinking yesterday, these stories need to be told. They need to be told. They need to be shared, and I don't think we do enough. Like, storytelling has kind of gone by the wayside. It's more like photos and things like that on Instagram. But back in the day, it was all storytelling. And I would love to be able to bring that back, in particular with moms. So we all feel like we've got our little
more
tribe.
Connected, right? I think hearing everybody's story connects us more. And every single woman and mom I know in my life has a story. And it is so empowering to listen and learn and relate or not relate, but it's just, it adds to, I think, the wealth of knowledge we have as women.
Well, I just created a sponsorship trade with a conference in Wrightsville Beach, North Carolina, called Many Women, Many Stories. Yes. And we are launching it. It's the maiden voyage of this conference. We're creating a blueprint that we hope we can pick up and offer to groups around the country so that they too can hold a conference like this. Yeah. And I'm super excited about it. And actually on the podcast, we've just launched a Many Women, Many Stories series. And we interviewed the president of the conference.
Oh, I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah, Aria Donahue. So everybody go check it out. And if you're in the southeastern United States or you want to be, jump on a plane and come join us November 17th. And I'm excited to be a part of that. To your point, Lori, these stories need to be shared.
Totally.
Yeah, well, we'll be following for sure. Thank you. Love you. You're the best.
Thank you, friends, for joining us for another episode of Badass Moms. Until next time, keep kicking ass and changing the world.